Okay, folks, hello. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We have a little shy of 300 people here now, so I think that's probably enough for us to get started. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And like I said, we're going to get started. Today is our 100th town hall. It's a pretty amazing feat. Pierre is going to get into the details on that and share a bit of background and history soon. Just before we get on to that, I'm going to do a bit of the background info as always. So we are, of course, joining you live. We are live streaming and recording. And so if you get disconnected at any point, you can head over to our YouTube page, youtube.com/at Hospitable. We have a very big announcement and plenty of slides to get through today. So I'm not sure we'll have tons of time for Q&A at the end, but if you do have any questions throughout, please feel free to use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen. That's it from me. I'm going to hand over to PC now.
Good day, everyone. We are having a particularly packed town hall today. And so we really wanted to talk to you about one big thing that actually we've been preparing for months now. It's truly getting us excited about its potential, especially to change the industry, but to definitely change your life, hopefully in your operations of your short-term rentals. But one trade that you know us for is our amazing planning. And we surprised ourselves really with this big announcement coming up at the same time as the 100th town hall, 4 years in to the day. So actually, we hope that we're getting the date right because that required some forensics. But we believe the first town hall happened on April 28th, 2021. So really, almost 4 years to the day. It was already on a Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, and around 6 p.m. Central European time, where most of the people on this side of the stage are based. Now, one thing that doesn't make me feel any younger about those early town hall days, and actually the first 40 town halls, is that they were happening on an application that you are not hearing about anymore, which was a COVID lockdown darling, and it was on Clubhouse. And so, I really first, if you were part of this era, please drop a message in the chat if you actually remember the town halls as they were happening on Clubhouse. It was a much more intimate setting for sure. Of course, those town halls would never get a chance without some of the best friends that happen to be customers to be joining us and having plenty of questions and interaction with their team. And so, like very many things, when they get started, it had very humble beginnings. Just think about it. Our first town hall had just 11 listeners. Now we have 350 plus, generally that coming up every 2 weeks, which makes it actually a very significant number in terms of event, podcast, webinars that basically are showing up. And we basically now today, right now, have actually 340 participants. Now it's pretty much a joke to have 11 listeners back then, because now we probably have more people on that part of the stage than we had listeners back in the day. And I remember definitely rallying up our team to make sure that they get on Clubhouse so that we have a slightly larger number. Some other happy memories, obviously, of those town halls is the fact that the people that were there then are still here today. Now, their titles may have changed a little bit, but I'm very proud, very happy that Nikita and Ben are still able to share product updates 4 years later on whatever they're working on. And fun fact, that first recorded town hall that we have from November 2021 had updates on publishing your direct booking websites, working on smart lock integrations, and plenty of time for Q&A, plenty of time for questions. At the time, we were able to have 15 minutes of product updates, and that's probably for 1 minute per person in the company. And we had 60 minutes of Q&A, which was a fantastic time. Now, the format has been a little bit, so slightly more structured. We've been moving it to Zoom so that we have a beautiful non-verbal communication. Don't you love those? It's very often at our expense. We have slides, proper management consulting slide. Oh, proud we are of those slides. They all finished at best 3 minutes before the town hall, and we know it shows, but we rather ship rather than basically having the best slides ever in the world. And those past few weeks, those past few times, we're pretty lucky if we have 15 minutes of Q&A. And yeah, it's hard for you to keep up. It's hard for everyone to keep up with the multitude of product updates that follow. So basically, we have about 15 minutes of product updates to this day. So here is to 100 more tunnels in a world where always we're told that communication with customers have to be super polished. We have to go to media training. We have to review those slides to lawyers. Our take is that it's much better to have genuine interaction with real people, between real people, the people that build and shape the features, and those that are using it in their everyday lives. And there is actually a pretty good overlap between those two groups. Everything else at Hospitable is changing. It's changing all the time. But this town hall, for 4 years, I stayed same time, same day, same similar kind of format. It's a privileged moment to show what we're up to and keep ourselves accountable to what's going on in the life of our customers. And so many times we fed from that feedback to adjust our immediate roadmap and things that we want to work on. So it's a really precious instrument for us. Now, as a company, we don't do agile sprints, we don't have board meetings, but we have the next town hall to present to. And I can assure you, everyone in the company, starting from maybe the day for the Monday, the beginning of the week, is freaking out about what their team is going to showcase. And that's fantastic as a management tool. If I'm honest, it introduces a lot of velocity. It introduces a cadence that's far more compelling than just a self-inflicted dread line. And it informs every day our hospitable way of doing our own things. Now, I know that the time zones make it very difficult to be raising one particular drink of choice. For those, for some, it's time for coffee. For others, it's probably beer o'clock. For me, I would raise a celebratory Red Bull for 100 more town halls. I don't know what they're going to look like, but for sure, they're still going to be there. Now, the meat of this town hall is we want to talk about your calendar. We have big plans for your calendars, and they've been in motion for quite a few months already. So this, what we're talking about today, is going to be a continuation of that work. And what we've all experienced is that big leap of becoming the source of truth for your calendar, which technically is being referred to as becoming a property management software, being that source of truth for your calendar availability and pricing data. Now, as you know, during the second half of 2024, Airbnb made it so our previous integration would no longer allow us to push availability, and we needed to perform that upgrade of our connection. We performed a massive change to become that source of truth in the past few months, and our efforts have been rewarded by becoming last month an Airbnb Preferred Plus partner, the highest tier of integration and connection quality with Airbnb, in addition to becoming as well a Booking.com Premier Connectivity partner, also the highest tier of integrations with Booking.com. Now, in that transition, there were some features that are no longer making sense for PMS connected listings, and therefore have been terminated by Airbnb. Among those, there is one feature that we maybe overlooked because it typically is not something we consider as a massively valuable feature, which is Airbnb Smart Pricing. Now, if you are a PMS connected listing, you cannot use Airbnb Smart Pricing, which is Airbnb's proprietary algorithm to adjust your nightly rate. At best, Airbnb Smart Pricing is controversial. Let's put it this way. And I think there is a strong sentiment that this algorithm is working to the benefits of the marketplace rather than the benefit of the host. But you still can manage some minimum and some maximums. And the illusion that it basically is going to be to your benefit, it's going to fluctuate based on demands. It's smart for Airbnb, as Anthony is saying right now in the chat. It's one of the things actually that hosts are pretty much agree upon, that to disable it the first thing that you do when you set up your listing or your Airbnb account. So for us, it was really a surprise to see that some customers were still very attached to it. And having introduced it, I copied over some quotes. I could not make them up. I could not manufacture them, especially that one about asking to have an upgrade to mobile, which is a completely unrelated question, completely unrelated. So for those users, though, that meant that a better integration with Airbnb resulted in a loss of the feature that was very valuable to them, but maybe we can help them with App Store partners. And so that's when we thought, after all, we do have 6 dynamic pricing vendors. So that's enough dynamic pricing vendors that actually you cannot name all of them unless you're really an expert. So in case you don't know about them all, and from the top right, that is Beyond Pricing, Price Labs, DPGO, Rate Genie, Rank Breeze, and Wheelhouse. So that's kind of a good thing going on for us, is that we have more than you need in terms of dynamic pricing vendors. Now, if you follow our channels, there's also something that we did with our API in February, and that was basically what we refer to as an API v2. And that change, amongst many others, allowed Hospitable to identify who is using which vendors. So being able to offer more secure permission to those vendors, so making sure that we're able to have the right permissions for the right application, making sure they can do everything at the same time, having transparency to what are the most popular vendors in our user base. And that allowed us really to surface where are the most dynamic price, what are the most popular dynamic pricing integrations. So definitely that's Price Labs and down. But that was not the most surprising fact. And that is that 37% of our customers do not actually have any dynamic pricing set up on their listings that we could possibly know of at minimum, but it's very challenging to develop your own dynamic pricing on made. So as of yesterday, that is about 37% of our users that do not have dynamic pricing software at all connected to Hospitable. There may be plenty of fantastic valid reasons behind it, if that is your choice. But we also know from talking with customers every minute of every day that it simply may just never have come up. It seems complicated, it seems expensive, or somehow that software category as a category really does not work for my properties somehow. So maybe there is something that needs to be fixed here, because as you know, we would expect 100% of customers having some dynamic pricing. The other thing that we noticed from our experience, to beat a dead horse, support is very complicated. Especially when the pricing is set by a dynamic pricing software. We may have fantastic relationships with all leading dynamic pricing companies, but it remains a challenge for users and ourselves as a company, depending on the integration quality, for example. Now, last time all, we have Nuran reporting on support plans, and she shared basically the fact that we need to ask a lot of questions to be able to understand and qualify the problems that are happening to you. You can very simply express a problem like my prices are not updating, but there is actually another tree of questions that we need to go through to identify what is the problem that's actually happening. And we don't know about the underlying logic behind your rates, so we ask questions about it. We don't know when they will be pushed next, which may be providing a great fix. And we apply our own logic on top of the rates that are provided by dynamic pricing software, such as, for example, platform markups, listing markups, which may or may not be the source of a misunderstanding with our customers. And we, of course, are the first one that our users will reach out to, because we're likely the part that is the most complex part of the process. So that means there is a greater maybe opportunity that something somehow went wrong or was misunderstood within Hospitable. And what it means in practice, that our customers, our hosts, are left in a conversation between both the dynamic pricing software company and Hospitable to know what exactly was sent, when it was pushed, which booking platform and when, whether it was overridden, and so many other things. Another part is that we're also expanding on the development of those third-party, to support, allowing them to have more features, for example, for API, but we're dependent on them adopting those so that we can offer more value. And so in the meantime, we have to suffer the dissatisfaction of some customers that are told that there are restrictions, but actually we can absolutely support those on our API, just it's not been on their roadmap. And so we are kind of in a rock and a hard place. So nobody really wins on this kind of user experience and support experience in particular. Now, we believe I don't want to torture you any longer about what this town hall really is about. Typically, we like to think as 5 stars as the baseline in the sharing economy. 5 stars is what we know we can expect as a guest, as a host. It doesn't mean it's perfect, but it means there's nothing negative that really interfered with your stay. This tunnel is about moving past the 5-star baseline or the 5-star consensus into basically moving past the baseline. Every software in this space can offer an expected amount of value by offering an integration marketplace. Basically, no one is going to get fired because they just do dynamic pricing integration. What we're finding is that while no one is going through this, it's not always a satisfactory experience. The PMS is already accountable for the development and support of the calendar as a whole, but has no ownership and offers no transparency over the algorithm itself that's setting those prices. It is accountable for delivery, but not for the input. Bit of a challenging place to be in. And particularly, I believe for our customers, they need a solution that is super easy to be using. If it doesn't work within the first 4 seconds, it's not going to work in the next 4 days. This tunnel is about moving past that 5-star towards a 6-star, which is about offering something extra on top of the baseline, providing extra benefits. And for many conversations where we brainstorm in this way, the 6-star is special. Nobody talks about the 5-star. It's great. It's expected. Nothing went wrong. But a 6-star, that 6-star is something that gets you to talk about what one thing that felt very special. And that 6-star is something beyond value delivered, beyond just being right. And so now, today, we would like to introduce you to the next feature that's part of Hospitable. We are going to be introducing Hospitable dynamic pricing, available right within Hospitable. And to talk to you more about it, Andrew is going to get you through the process on how we pick this new feature.
All right.
Great.
Cool. Happy to be broadcasting live for the 100th Town Hall. And let's jump in to dynamic pricing. And I'm going to spend just a few minutes here going very high level, talking about how we approached this opportunity, this problem. And then you will be able to get a very live demo of this when I pass to our designer, Matt. So when we did this, and I think Pierre forgot to mention that this was on our list of like do not touch projects for a long time. We will never do dynamic pricing. So we started out with a list of kind of our first principles to guide us of whether or not this would even be something we should contemplate. And we came up with these 4 factors. So obviously it has to work. So this must improve performance. It needs to be transparent because you will not use this feature if you don't trust us. As Pierre said, it has to be easy to use. Simplicity is what we're after, always relentlessly trying to simplify the product. So it has to start from simple. And our mission to give you your time back, it has to fit within that. Pricing, we know, is one of the most important jobs you have as a host. It's also one of the hardest and the most time consuming. So let's talk about performance then. Okay, so we went in this, I think, with the requisite humility. We are not a dynamic pricing company. We knew we would not be successful if we did this purely on our own. So we've been working on this for months. We have engaged, we have vetted partners. We have access to lots of data as a PMS, but we only have about 100,000 properties. That's not enough for us to be having confidence in projecting market prices around the world. So we engaged with the right data sets. We wanted models for our pricing engine that were proven, that were tested at a scale beyond Hospitable. The last few weeks, as this has been coming closer to launch, we have been working with professional revenue managers that have been auditing our data, our recommendations, adjusting the pricing engine to our user base. We feel like we have kind of a unique user base of customers, and we want this pricing engine to work for you, of course. And we want it to be personalized to everything that makes your property unique. Speaking about our unique user base, we were looking for a balanced model. I think that's the best fit for our customer base. Dynamic pricing is not just about getting super high nightly rates when you can. It's about balancing it with filling your calendar, helping you do that. I think I've seen a lot of hosts in office hours that I've talked to that struggle to fill your calendar. We want you to help. We want to help fill your calendar for you to be a more successful host. So what it takes to do that is to be reacting to a market, something called occupancy pacing, right? How fast is your calendar filling? When did your calendar fill for May last year. Are you on track? Are you behind schedule? Should we speed up the facilitating of getting those bookings? That is a profit maximizing strategy. Again, it's not just about super high prices when you can, it's about all sides. It's about knowing when to drop your price below your median to get additional bookings. If you follow that model, the engine that we've put together is bringing over 20% revenue lift from doing things manually, from not having that kind of intelligence. So we're quite confident with that. And it just feels really aligned with where we are as a company. More successful hosts get more value from Hospitable. So we're super excited about that. Let's move on to number two, transparency. So again, it's about earning your trust. You're not going to use this most critical function of your business without trusting us. The number one question we got when we were talking to hosts through the research, the discovery, through the private pilot onboarding, where do your prices come from? And we wanted to work into the product a way to explain that, right? We're about to jump to the demo where you'll get to see this live, but a preview was essential for this. We want you to be able to see all 24 months of preview pricing. We're doing a good job pointing out, hey, this is where our model differs from what your current pricing are. You might want to check this out. This might be something where you want to override us if you have, access to information that we don't have in our model. That can happen. We wanted to show our work. So you can see in this image, we're going to show you how we arrived at our calculation. And we find in the private pilot sessions we've done, this is super informative for hosts. Hosts are feeling validated or perhaps slightly scared that their base price was off, right? Their expectation of median price was not matching the market, and we're able to provide that for them by showing our work. We knew it needed to be easy to try out. We want to prove the value that we can add with this, right? So we made it easy to, this is not something you turn on for all your properties all at once. We made it easy to try it on one property. You can try it on some, you can try it on all. We make it easy to test out. If you're using another dynamic pricing tool today, you don't have to disconnect it to try this. You can try it on a single property and compare us side by side with whatever model you're using today. It's instantly and completely reversible. You can try it for 10 minutes, 10 days, 10 weeks. If you turn it off, we'll restore all of your pricing to what it was the day before you started, the moment before you started. So it should be easy to try. Simplicity. With the conversations that we had, for those of you that are managing your pricing manually, we had people telling us that you set up your own spreadsheets, you set up your own graphs, you're purchasing your own data sets from other providers. Like this is mind-blowing for us. This was very enlightening. I've been through office hours of hosts painting up their calendar in different rule sets, trying to achieve something that was clearly meant to be done by a computer. Pricing is hard. We think automating this is better for 95% plus of our hosts. There's no reason for you to be spending your time updating this daily when a computer can do that better. So for those of you that are using pricing tools already, we spoke to a lot of you as well. And a lot of the feedback was, it's too complicated. It's over-engineered. I was on a call last week with a host who was trying to show me a setting in one of their pricing tools. It was 45 seconds. I went back and checked the clock, and 45, which feels like 2 minutes on a call, looking for a simple setting that they said that it just edited before that. We couldn't find it. We gave up. So we're trying to avoid that. Simplicity for us is absolutely critical for us to be successful doing this. So we think everybody can use it. It's so simple. We think, sorry, I got off track there. So the simple controls, right? So this initial version that we're launching today, anybody can use it. There are only 3 controls for you to get started. You set a base rate, a median rate for your property. The other 2 are actually optional, a min price and a max price. You don't have to pick a comp set. We do that for you in the background. You don't even have to set a different weekday versus weekend base price. The model can do that for you. Those of you that are using pricing tools, we're simplifying your job. If you want to override your dynamic pricing recommendations, you can now do that from our calendar on our model. You don't have to go to another tool. Everything will be simplified and centralized on your Hospitable calendar. So simple enough for anybody to use, and we think everybody should use it. This is on mission for us. It saves you time. We're doing the things that if you're editing your prices, you should be doing, but probably don't have time to do. All of the things that are going to help improve your business. Honestly, it's easier for us to automate that for you. We're going to be making daily tweaks to your prices every 24 months, responding to dozens and dozens of different attributes and changing conditions in the market. I'll let our engineer get into more details on this. But for now, get excited. We're going to jump to a live demo with Matt, our designer, who has been absolutely critical in how we designed and built this.
Thanks, Andrew. So to jump in, Andrew's talked a lot about the process that we kind of follow at Hospitable, but to just bring this to light a bit more, right? We've kind of outlined, PC and Andrew have outlined the strategy behind why we've identified dynamic pricing as an opportunity that we want to pursue. Once you've identified that, we go through these kind of 4 phases. In discovery, we go out and gather a lot of information. Then we work out in definition, what is the exact problem that we want to solve? We generate a bunch of ideas, we test them with our customers, and then we get to a place where we're ready to launch. So when it comes to the discovery phase, we were asking questions like, why are we seeing hosts that don't use dynamic pricing today? And of hosts that do use dynamic pricing, how do they use them? And what are the problems that they're trying to solve? For instance, staying competitive in today's market. Then we go into the definition phase. And the exact problem we're trying to solve here is to help hosts to increase their earnings by optimizing their prices. With all of that information, we go into this ideation phase, right? So how do we make this a reality? And there are a number of things that we're trying to achieve in the experience. We're trying to give you a clear preview of your pricing recommendations. We're surfacing missed opportunities and risks in your current pricing. We're explaining the why behind the recommendations, and we want to ensure that you remain in control of your prices. So once we're at this point, we think we have some good ideas. So we take them to our customers and we walk through these ideas to gather insights, right? To understand how we can improve this experience before we show it to everyone. So thank you to all of the customers that took part in those early research sessions and definitely the private pilot sessions as well. We're now at a point where we're excited to launch dynamic pricing. And once we launch it, we will learn a lot more. So I will now jump into the demo. Miles, if you could stop sharing. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the dynamic pricing experience with a property called Key West Villa. Once dynamic pricing is live, you will be able to use this. You will be able to use this exact experience in Hospitable. So I've gone into Hospitable. I'm in my calendar for my property Key West Villa. You'll see a few changes here already. We've moved pricing and soon availability settings here, so they're easier to find and more relevant to the actions that you're taking. This is part of our ongoing effort to bring key settings into the calendar where they're most useful in context. But we're here to talk about dynamic pricing, so I want to talk you through my current pricing setup for Key West Villa. It's pretty basic. You'll see that in April, I'm booked out. In May, I have some good bookings. June, it's getting a little less booked. July, it's worse. But the main thing I want to talk to you about here is that my pricing strategy right now is I set weekdays to $85 a night, and on weekends, I up it to $110. So it's a pretty basic strategy, but it seems to be working for me. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into dynamic pricing, see what happens. So I'll scroll back up to today. So I can see some things happening here on the left, and I also see a new panel on the right. So let's have a look. So in the center of my screen, I see 85 and 57. My current price is $85. And then it's explaining the price calculation. So the dynamic pricing thinks my base rate should be 82. So I'm pretty close. It's telling me there's a gap night, so I should decrease my rate. Yep, there's only 2 nights available, so that makes sense. There's a little bit of demand, there's less seasonality, but also this booking is only a week out, so it's telling me to drop it by $12. I think 57's, maybe a little low. Maybe I don't want to book a night at that rate, but that's interesting to know. So let's go down the calendar and see what else we have. Okay, on the 19th, I can see actually it's telling me I could increase my price by almost $50. It's telling me there's a lot of local demand and it's a good season for it. So let's jump into this right-hand panel. Dynamic pricing can boost my revenue by over 20%. It reacts to market demand to boost revenue and increase occupancy. I can set a base price preference to see how it affects my nightly rate. So let's give this a try. Okay, so it seems to have given me more conservative prices here and decreased them a little bit. I think I like the recommended, so we'll stick with that. And at the bottom, we can see what the colors mean. So if there is a green price, it means I could earn more by raising my price. If there is a black price, it means that my price looks good and it kind of matches the recommendation. And if there is a red price, it's suggesting that I could get more bookings by lowering my price. So let's go in and see what I can do to customize this. Okay, so I have the base price still. I can also set a custom base price if I think that's wrong. As I mentioned, there are some nights that I'm really not comfortable with. So this one, 57, 68, they don't look great to me. I think that there is this option to set a minimum price. I don't really want to sell a night for less than 75. So let's set that there. Okay, I can see that now, no matter what dynamic price is suggested, it will never go lower than $75. And I can see that adjusted here, 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 here. So that looks good. Now I'm confident that, my prices are going to automatically update and they'll never go lower than $75. So let's continue. Okay, it looks like it's checking my calendar for manually set prices. I have manually set prices on 30% of my dates. This makes sense. What I do is once a quarter, I come in here and I set up my weekdays to $85 and my weekends to $110. So it makes sense that yes, I do manually set my prices. So I want to apply dynamic pricing on all dates. I don't want those manual prices anymore. And it also does tell me I can revert at any time. So let's go with the apply. So what dynamic pricing does and what changes, it automatically updates every day. I can still adjust my prices manually anytime. I can turn it off anytime and restore it back to what the prices were before I activated it. So let's go through and activate. So it's activating, moment of truth, optimizing my prices, syncing my prices to platforms, which typically takes 15 minutes. And dynamic pricing is live. It's telling me my prices will update daily based on demand and I can turn it off anytime. So let's go back to the calendar and see what's changed. Okay, I can see dynamic pricing is on. Let's have a look at some of these nights that we adjusted. So here I can see that the source is now coming from dynamic pricing for the $75 one. And I think there were some dates here as well that looked, where they were telling me to bump my rates up. And I can see that the source is coming from dynamic pricing here. I know there's a football game in town. I think it's this weekend. So what I can do is I can see this is coming from the source dynamic pricing, but what I can do here is I can just go in and manually override this date. So if I save that, I now see that I have $160 for the Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and I see this small underline. So I can see the difference between what is dynamic pricing and what is manually set. So in terms of dynamic pricing and the experience that you're seeing, the last thing I can do is go into my dynamic pricing section and I can edit the base price. I can change the custom base price. I can edit the minimum and maximum at any time I want, and I can turn it off if I want to. So this is a high-level overview of the experience, right? It's helping me to evaluate my dynamic pricing recommendations before I commit. It helps me to very quickly see large pricing differences and high demand days. I get a basic understanding of how it works, and I can customize it and personalize it to my preference. So I'm going to stop the demo now, and I'm going to pass it over to Devin for some of the technical aspects behind dynamic pricing.
Thanks, Matt. So I'm Devin, based in Berlin, and been working with a talented team of engineers to bring you dynamic pricing in time for this town hall, working literally day and night. So let's talk a little bit about the data. The base price is the median price for your property in the market that we determine for it to be. In order for us to calculate this base price, we use the data that we have, as is your PMS, to try and judge the base price based off various attributes. Things like bedrooms and bathrooms and amenities for your properties, historical reservations for the last 5 years, plus all the reservations into the future, And this includes things like the total price, the reservation financials, guest breakdowns, as well as all your calendar data, your daily prices, and your availability. We use this to generate your base price, which you can still customize if you feel that you have attributes that aren't captured by this. For example, an amazing view or a luxury villa, you can add the custom base price functionality that Matt briefly touched on in the demo. However, this base price is not reactive to the market. It develops with the market, but it's not reactive. So in order to make our base price reactive and therefore dynamic, we use various layers of reactivity based off time. Those include things like local demand, seasonality, booking window, and the day of week, plus many other factors. And that gives you your dynamic price that we have and we show on your calendar that you saw before with Matt's demo. The next question you might have is, how often do these prices update? So they're going to update every 24 hours at a minimum. However, significant property changes, things like currency that would affect pricing, will also trigger a update to the dynamic prices, as well as dynamic price changes. So for example, if you change your base price from recommended to aggressive, again, that will trigger a fresh dynamic price settings, as well as pushing those to the OTA. Next slide. So core philosophy of what we were working on was engineering a risk-free approach. And I think that was touched on a bit by Andrew, as well as Matt. And you saw that initially with the previewing of the prices. So it's all risk-free. You can go into your demo, you can play around with the settings, you can compare the prices. If you have another pricing integration, you compare them, you can see which one's working better for you. None of that's getting pushed to the OTAs. However, once you decide that you do want to play around with it, you can go onto the customizing setup that you saw Matt show. And you can choose to play around with things like overriding your manual edits, which you saw. You can choose not to override your manual edits, and then you can add manual edits later. And you can also override those. But the key part here is that we preserve your original calendar. So no matter what, if you decide to turn off dynamic pricing tomorrow, a week from now, a month from now, all of those things you override and you played with will still be there. And that includes pricing integrations. I think that was already touched on, but if you have another pricing integration, you want to play around with it, but you decide you don't like it, and you want to use your old pricing integration for the time being, you can do that, and it will still be there just the way it's supposed to be. Next slide. So we talked through a lot of hosts, and we heard you guys all saying the same sort of things in terms of problems that you're having with your calendars and pricing. And a core model that we have at Hospitable is gifting hosts their time back. And so we heard that you were going back through your calendar, looking at your previous year pricing and applying that to your current year. We heard that you were looking at your calendar for the current month and discounting things in preparation for not having a non-occupancy event on your calendar. And we also heard that you were going through and adjusting the seasonality and holidays. So seeing that there's July 4th or an important football game and going through and marking those days up. The important thing here is that we gift your time back because our algorithm will do all of these things for you automatically every day and give you your time back. But that's really just the beginning. And I'll pass over to Andrew to talk about the roadmap ahead.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So tonight, this is, we're talking about the first launch of, I think, many launches with dynamic pricing embedded in Hospitable. This initial version is very lightweight. We designed it to be dead simple. It may be too simple for some of you. That's fine. I think we're targeting that 37% that Pierre referred to at the beginning that are not using any tools right now. This will absolutely improve your business. Those of you that were using smart pricing and missed that ability to have dynamic pricing, this is for you. We think this brings immediate value. Every pilot onboarding that we did in the last few weeks was successful in the sense that everyone chose to onboard at least one property when they had a conversation, when they saw the previews, when they saw what was happening. And that was, a great bit of confidence boost for us. So what's coming next? Right now, you saw in the demo, we're just in the single property calendar view. We want to bring this out to the multi-calendar view so you can interact with it there. We want to make it easier for people with lots of properties to enable this. So we're going to be doing kind of a bulk onboarding so you can set those key factors for your property, the base price, min price, max price. We want to give you the ability to give more feedback on the price. Obviously, today you can override with a manual price, but that's not the best way that we'd like you to do it. We want you to be able to set what are more akin to rule sets, if you're familiar with those, to make adjustments and apply a percentage markup on a dynamic price so it stays dynamic. And we want to start to introduce some advanced settings without getting too complicated, right? We're going to be smart about how we approach this. There's obviously we're giving you the capability to get in trouble if we give you too much. We don't want to do that. These will likely be introduced for more sophisticated customers. We're going to try and keep this experience simple for all. All of these things we hope to release in the month of May. So we're going to be releasing in the next days, in the next weeks, bringing some additional capabilities to dynamic pricing. Looking a bit further ahead then, so for later, really getting into, I think, a very sophisticated experience for sophisticated hosts. One of the things that we think we can do a better job than most of the pricing tools, because we are the PMS, is to help you with a discount strategy. Discounts are great for like your search engine optimization on the channels. We want to help you use discounts in a great way. Normally, and this was coming from what you've told us in the user research, you don't have visibility on those discounts in your pricing tools, and that makes it more difficult for you. We can give you that visibility. We can help you design the strategies. We can create the discounts for you. That's something that we're starting to invest in now. It's going to take a bit more time. We think we can do a uniquely good job with this. Currently, I saw this come up in the chat, we're not editing min stays, so we're not kind of reducing your min stay requirement as we get closer to check-in. That's something that we will build, including really smart logic around destroying orphan nights to whatever level of comfort you are with a min stay. So those become something you don't have to manage manually. And then for a more sophisticated pricing model, if you're familiar with it, length of stay pricing, giving a different price for every permutation of itinerary, those are all on our later roadmap. But I think we've covered a lot so far tonight. So if you want to kind of dip your toe into this, if this was too much for you, there is an interactive demo. You can scan the QR code. You can find this later on the recording on YouTube if you need it. But this allows you to go slide by slide through everything Matt covered on your own time, at your own pace, and get comfortable understanding how this works in Hospitable. Next Tuesday, we will be doing a Q&A on this topic. So everyone that's here today, you have 6 days now to experience it, to generate some questions, and we will do a dedicated session of Q&A on dynamic pricing in Hospitable. So if you don't have time for questions tonight, you can save them for next week. And finally, we are offering limited number of sessions one-on-one with someone on the dynamic pricing team. If you would like assistance getting yourself onboarded, if you have questions, ideally you would like to give us feedback too. We're still trying to learn how this works, how it could be better. You can sign up for one of these sessions and you can talk with Devin or Matt or I, and we'll help you get set up on a one-on-one session. And with that, I will pass back to Pierre.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. We definitely are. Back channel. So what now? Let's do a recap of what Hospitable dynamic pricing is for. First, it's been designed for ease of use and transparency into the different components that makes the algorithm work. It's going to be available worldwide and provide you with 24 months of pricing. That's the maximum. You can reduce it depending on your availability window. Yet again, one of those things where becoming a PMS and providing the dynamic pricing actually helps in consolidating the experience. It will be in partnership with top industry suppliers. We are working with top data providers that and are feeding us with the data so that they can help us generate the best price for your properties with billions of data points and tens of millions of properties. There are some properties near you today that are basically being included in that data sample. We'll be developing rapidly for the favorite features that you've been asking about, and we believe we can demultiply the value of those features once they are involved in the new dynamic pricing product. And that includes, for example, rule sets, discounts, and promotions, so that you can have full visibility into the pricing, both as it stands on your calendar, but also as it's going to be pushed over to your different OTAs. And one team accountable end-to-end from the moment the price is generated all the way to the moment where the price is pushed, which is going to be better for our support, is going to be better for you as well. And if there is something wrong, we know we're accountable and it's on us to fix it. And that's actually a pretty comfortable position to be in compared to the alternative that's in place today. Now, as Andrew, Matt, and Devon have referred to, we've actually been working in secret with some of our customers. That those are customers that have requested that feature on feedback.hospitable.com that we reach out to as we're ready to test things out. That also is, we've also invited our Avengers. Our Avengers are basically people that are investing into Hospitable, and so they have a bit of a skin in the game into what things may go wrong or are great. But they know just that we're doing dynamic pricing and test the feature. They don't know about the other things. And so we recorded them and we got a bit of a sound bite to be sharing. So we're going to attempt something that may go very wrong in so many ways, but we're going to try to listen to those sound bites from those customers. No, we don't hear the sound. No. I think you needed to share the sound. Can you try it again, Miles? Or at least I can see. So you see, that's the thing. That's a genuine moment. As we say, we knew we were giving it a chance. We tested it before. It did work. But it's a very emotional moment for us and I think for those customers because they see now everything that's possible. So we're not exactly in the business of doing those kind of events and going live. But we still are pretty insistent on it. And to be fair, that's also something that I've asked very last minute. So literally at like 53, before this event, we're still working on that slide. Miles, you want to try?
Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we have too many people in. It's not playing ball.
Too many people. Okay, if we could please get out so that we can play the sound videos. Anyway, you can have some codes. We're gonna have to share it somewhere later. But it's really a dodgeable moment for those customers that realize that they realize it's so easy to use and it could work. So yeah, that's too bad. That's on me. Really, I push for basically I make a bit more of an emotional moment, and with customers sharing their view as they're testing it out. Now, what's happening? We probably have two different questions now, which obviously the first one is on the screen, which is how much? And we definitely have been that question popping up in the chat. First thing is let's look at the comp. After all, it's all about data and pricing. So at Price Labs, that is definitely the leading dynamic pricing provider. It costs $19.99 for one property, let's say in the top countries like the US, United States, Europe, etc. And for 5 properties, that bit of a discounted price, $17.95. $79.95. Wheelhouse offers within the same range. Beyond offers a percentage-based price, which, for example, with the average user on a worldwide basis, based on the numbers that we have from our year-end review in 2024, would be costing about $35 per month per property. Logify is brave, so compared with Guestioner's way that it actually disclosed their rates. So I want to give them kudos for the transparency. It means about $28 per month per property. Guesty and Hostaway, the big VC-backed private equity funded companies, keep their pricing very close to their chest, where it's basically between 4 and 6, but basically it depends really on the number of properties that you have, etc. So they are really insistent on keeping those privates. But yeah, what does $500 million in the bank get you? You still need to basically charge your customers for the extra dynamic pricing. Now, going back onto the kind of star reasoning, so far in this presentation, I've been delivering and we continue on delivering more of a 6-star, which is to offer that in-house dynamic pricing, removing friction so that you don't have to go to another product, you don't have to purchase another software, evaluate, etc. You don't have to set it up. You can do everything within the same user interface that's accountable end-to-end, from the first algorithm, from the algorithmic price, to the price being pushed over on the OTA, on the booking platform directly. Now, it's not like there is a speed limit. Why would we even stop there? Which is like, if we're confident we're with the 6-star, how about aiming for a 7th? So what would a 7-star really look like? Now, that 7-star is over the top, unexpected. The 6-star gets you to talk about, you can talk about the 7-star, you cannot stop you cannot stop talking about it. You leave something quite exceptional, and now everything pales really in comparison. It's a new level of expectation that for every future stay, if you're a guest that stayed in a 7, if you are a guest and you stayed at a 7-star property offering a 7-star experience. If we're to apply it to software, that's about delivering like a true moment of truth and dedication to our customers. And it's as well sending a message to the industry about what we want to stand for and what we believe they should probably adjust to be responding to some competitive demand. So we have come to a decision. And here it is. Dynamic pricing is included. It will come at no extra cost. So let's be clear, this feature does have a cost to Hospitable, but we believe it's an industry imperative that dynamic pricing is adopted across the board. You cannot have a paywall against one of the most important features of what software is expected to be providing to its community of hosts. It's a proven way to increase your occupancy and your revenue across the board. And so we're putting our money where our mouth is. And we're happy to take this extra expense as it will generate more revenue for our customers. Now, let's clarify what it means, because I'm sure dynamic pricing included is raising even more questions. Now, it's going to be included for host, professional, and mogul tiers. At this point in time, the same functionality we have shared with you will be available across the board. That means there is no distinction between host, professional, and mogul plan based on the algorithm. Over time, as we develop more features, there may be some opportunities for segmentation. So with the host plan focused on ease of use, really the velocity of delivering a benefit to our users, professional plan being really focused on state-of-the-art automations. There is a lot of things that we've been hearing about our feature requests that are probably a bit more of a stretch from the ease of use and needs to be moved over to professional for that reason. And at the same time, mogul is about state-of-the-art management of your short-term rental business, including far more value. Now, there are 2 caveats, and I'm pretty sure that if I were to jump in the chat, those are already going to be flagged. The first caveat is legacy customers. When you join Hospitable between 2016 and 2022, you could not expect what it became today. And this creates basically a bit of a mismatch between the price point that you have then and the value that you're delivering now. You could not possibly assess that Hospitable would do dynamic pricing. And in fact, as Andrew reminded, it's actually something we said we never do. That's one of the things that we never want to do. But now we're in a great position to be doing that. Now, legacy customers are still going to be able to preview the rates. So there's going to be full transparency about the algorithm for the month of May. Shit, I've already bubbled it. So our dynamic pricing algorithm. So you will have full visibility into what prices are going to be generated. But if you want to push those prices to the OTAs, you're going to have to pick one of the new tiers that corresponds to you. And they're already packed with value, such as direct bookings, generous allocation for smart locks, and smart thermostats as well under a professional plan. And from mogul, you already will find more management and accounting features, including owner statements. Now, the true benefit, it allows you to self-qualify into what you're interested in, and that means we can shape the product to that particular kind of persona that you're building, which means we provide more satisfaction to users that are able to opt in into really what resonates with them. Second is what we call the seasonality discount. Bottom line, and making it simple, because our pricing can appear very complicated, it's actually complicated to your advantage. Here, that brings an opportunity for a simplification. Every Hospitable property where dynamic pricing is enabled will be considered active and therefore charged according to your plan. It comes with a bit of a change of the value proposition. What started as a messaging automation software that would basically be based really on the number of guests that you're hosting this month is now changing to setting the prices for your next 18 to 24 months in the future. And so therefore, there needs to be a bit of alignment about that future value being delivered as well. So users that are opting in for the Hospitable dynamic pricing can opt in, can opt out of those properties. But if you are opting into dynamic pricing, that means that listing will be available, will be added to your invoice. It may already have been included into your invoice, but if you basically, for example, are just launching a new property and you're setting up dynamic pricing there, that means that that property will be included into your invoice. So that's basically something that we believe make it fair to make it work, considering the benefits of the algo and dynamic pricing itself, all the features that come with it, and the ease of use as well. Now, when is that going to be available? That's the second bit of a blooper. When is Hospitable dynamic pricing going live? I think I actually have to turn to Andrew, who's probably have to click a button there. But
it's live now.
It's live now. We got the confirmation from the boss. So it is live now, which is every user, every legacy, host, pro, Mogul, no matter what, you can preview your prices generated. You can opt into dynamic pricing today, preview rates, and those rates may be pushed to your booking platforms if they are to your satisfaction. And every day moving forward, we'll be continuing to develop those things. And every day moving forward, you also will have updates to your new rates being generated. Now, in case you are already working with a dynamic pricing integration, you don't have to change anything. You are not compelled to be using our dynamic pricing algorithm. We'd love it if that's the case. But we are still 100% committed to be supporting dynamic pricing integrations that we already support through our marketplace. And they're probably a great fit if you want very sophisticated features today. But we hope that over time, as we ramp up more features, we are going to help you consolidate your experience over one calendar. There are plenty that we will talk about. You can, for now, hear me again if you want to hear more of me, which I doubt you really need, on the Art of Hospitality podcast, where actually I'm going back onto the town halls, 100 on the 100th town hall, what it meant really for a company and for a culture. And they also got the scoop beforehand about dynamic pricing and the fact that we wanted to have that included as a baseline of the PMS moving forward. So you can have a listen and tell them that you really like having me so that because I love to talk about those things anyway. And just a reminder, we will have on Tuesday fast rollout a Q&A about dynamic pricing. So because we know you're going to have questions very quickly and we want to have ample time to be answering them. So an entire section on Q&A that we will have with you. Andrew, you want to share something on the Q&A?
No, good.
No, not at all. And so, yeah, next town hall will be back. It actually will be special date for me. It's 14th of May. And there will be more updates about everything that we come up with. There have been plenty of new developments for all the teams in the company, but today we really wanted to make it special about dynamic pricing. But there has been changes to Mogul AI and other things. And so we'll basically be able to give a spotlight to those and so many others in 2 weeks. Andrew, is there something else?
Sorry, I jumped in a bit too early. There is one more thing, a small thing.
Sorry. We just had a dynamic pricing included at no cost live today, and we have the audacity of coming up with one more thing. I mean, what are the customers going to think now? They think like it's too much.
Well, for anyone that's still sticking around, I think we should give them something else. That was a lot.
Fair. That was a lot.
So the one more thing. Development of an official integration with Vrbo starts next week. So thank you for all of you that have been patiently waiting for a proper integration into Vrbo. Some of you were more on the patient side. I agree with all of you that were frustrated as well. We haven't been sitting on our hands waiting for this. As soon as we saw Vrbo's integration catch up, match more of the capabilities of the other OTA integrations, we have made an intense lobbying effort. This has been like a 2-year effort to get capacity from Vrbo to do this. They have been very busy developing their own product. They are not onboarding many partners at all. We might just be the only partner that gets onboarded this year. I'm not sure about that, but we're starting next week. So that was a big win for the team. We're super excited for that. A lot of effort has gone into securing that. Development should take about 2 months. Obviously, we can't really communicate a timeline of when that can go live. We have some dependencies that are out of our control, but we're quite confident in our capabilities to get that work done pretty darn fast, probably faster than anyone else they've ever worked with.
Feels good, right?
Very good.
It's fantastic. So that's fantastic. That's a fantastic update. We're not going to have time for Q&A, but there is going to be a specific one Tuesday specifically dedicated to this. And yeah, we're going to be able to triple click on everything that we shared today on dynamic pricing, so that it's basically top of mind for everybody in the company and also across our customers. So we'll have the next channel to share more about what it means in terms of Vrbo and other things that we've announced in this channel. But yeah, as I shared in the beginning, the format of those channels has changed a little bit. It's getting more packed with updates, simply because, as you guys realize, we're also a little bit of an inflection point when it comes to engineering and product development. And that's, I think, honestly, please, for every negative feedback you could give, you have to give us a bit of kudos at the fact that we're moving our butt to delivering a great product and not sitting on our hands and the positions that we have secured several years ago. So that's our mission. It's a gift, some of your time back, and we are just getting started. And if you feel it's shit right now, it's the worst it's ever been. Tomorrow will be improved. Thank you so very much. Have a fantastic rest of your day.